One of the most contentious issues in the 2016 U.S. presidential race is whether or not to accept refugees from Syria. But how much of a threat would an influx of Syrian refugees truly be for the West? ILTV's Erin sat down with Professor Harold Rhode, who served as an Islamist affairs advisor to the U.S. Department of Defense for nearly 3 decades.
The way when Muslims in general move to a new place, they're very quiet, they're very insular, they don't bother anybody. And the question comes, though, when there is a critical mass and when there is a large community, they start making demands. And we're seeing this in Michigan right now in the United States, that there won't be pork served, for example, at McDonald's or in schools and things like that. So the answer is, in the beginning, not a big threat. But they will, with time, what history shows is that they do this over and over again. They're quiet until they have reached the critical mass and they make demands. And that's what's happening in Germany and France as well right now.
In fact, we are seeing a Muslim majority in certain areas of England and France and even Belgium who are demanding the imposition of Sharia law. Do you think that Western Europe is on the cusp of some sort of an Islamic conquest?
Well, we could be. And the question is, does the West have the willingness to stand up for itself, defend its culture? And only then is there hope. If we continue the decline that we have right now, both in Europe and in the United States, where the leaders no longer believe in themselves and their culture based on the values of Mount Sinai, the values of Christianity and Judaism come from the same place, Mount Sinai. If we don't know who we are in the West, it's over. Is it tomorrow? No, but 20, 30 years from now, yes.
Let's now talk about Israel's situation. In fact, in Gaza, it's run by Islamist leaders, Hamas, and then just over the northern border, there's Hezbollah, of course. Do you think that there's any risk of any sort of an Islamist insurgency from within Israel?
Well, as long as the people in Israel understand that the authorities are prepared to do what is necessary to keep them under control, it can be managed. The problem is the internet, that a lot of the young people are radicalized on the internet. And that's something that's very difficult to control. But frankly, so far, the Israeli government has done a very good job of keeping this problem under control. When you ban the movement, it's just going to reemerge as another movement. So the Northern League, Riyad Saleh, if they are declared illegal, they'll reemerge in some other form. And I am confident that the authorities in Israel know what to do to monitor these things and to keep it under control.
Let's bring our discussion now back to the Syrian refugee crisis. What do you make of the way that Israel has been handling wounded Syrians who are hurt in a civil war, making their way to the borders of the Jewish state for medical treatment?
Well, Israel has to have a balance here. Israeli culture, is based on Jewish culture, which means we must be compassionate. And if these people need help, I think it's wonderful that Israel is offering the medical assistance to the people it has. But the Israeli policy vis-a-vis Syria is, I think, superb. Why? The place is falling apart. All sorts of people are shooting and killing at each other. And Israel is calm. When, God forbid, there is a missile which is shot at Israel, Israel responds quickly and massively. There is no such thing as proportional response. This is an obsession of the West. Proportional response is deadly. The other side, whoever they may be, must understand that Israel will do whatever is necessary to defend itself. And Israel's doing a wonderful job.